What does it look like to crack the code on organic leads? That is what we are going to find out today from James Bogart, President and CEO of Bogart Wealth. James, thanks so much for being with us.
Laura, thanks for having me.
I think it's fair to say Bogart Wealth is in massive scaling mode. Give me some stats that back that up.
Okay, so in May of 2020, we sat at 600 million in assets, and here we are today, about 4 years later, now at 3 billion. 2021, we brought $1 billion in assets all in one rolling 12-month period of time. We went from 12 team members to now we have 43 team members. Pretty much every system, process, redundancy, either was tested or broken along the way. What's interesting now is we're actually having to throttle back on our organic lead flow because we can't get advisors fast enough. And it's fascinating to me because I spent the better part of 15 years building these systems. We were very systematic and formulaic with them. Every live event we were doing was getting anywhere from 50 to 80 people at it. Of those, 35% approximately were brand new attendees. Of the 35% who came to an event would come in for a consultation, and 87% would become clients. So we just treated it like a funnel, and it was a pipeline where the more live events we did, the more new attendees we got, the more initial consultations we got, the more new business we closed. And it just kept continuing building this pipeline. And what happened in the pandemic, as we all know, is we couldn't do live events for a period of time, at least. I would say out of fear, but also necessity, I very quickly made the decision to move to digital marketing. And it was fascinating. March 23rd of 2020 was the first Zoom I'd ever done, let alone Zoom event I had ever done. And the first event I had 397 attendees at it, with another 700 people who watched the recording of it afterwards. And all of a sudden, I'm, mind's blown. I'm thinking to myself, what have I been missing for so many years here in terms of client acquisition? Just to kind of support the numbers, we went from approximately roughly 1,400 names were in our prospect database going into the pandemic. Now we're sitting well over 80,000. A lot of that came purely from referrals and organic lead flow.
When you do a dig through your YouTube channel and go to your oldest videos, this absolutely backs up what you're saying, because 4 years ago, we're in a pandemic and you start posting content to YouTube. It's always interesting to look at the old stuff, but I want to pull up the most popular. And this is the 17,000 views on your mega backdoor Roth strategies. This is a 45-minute webinar. This is a deep dive. What do you attribute success to here?
I'd love to say charm. Truthfully, I think it's creating very timely, very relevant information that is specifically targeting some demographic. And because we were doing it in a manner where we were able to be very specific, we were able to then really get a lot of momentum and volume off of those videos very, very quickly. So we made this leap from practice to enterprise very, very quickly. We found that we were having a massive bottleneck when I was doing all of the video content. Prospects only wanted to talk to me. And so very quickly, one of the pivots that we had to do was get other individuals in my team to do presentations. And it enabled us to be able to very logarithmically pick up more momentum where prospects were very comfortable with other members of the team, and it allowed us to scale that way.
Yes. And it's almost a part of anyone's business growth plan. You have to be able to do these things as you move through your career, as we're looking at the next 5-10 years, being comfortable on camera, being able to do live interviews on a podcast, all so important. You shared with me a story that I'd like to hop into here about your advisory board and going to them and asking, what do you think of our content?
So we do advisory boards roughly every 6 months, targeting different demographics within our customer base. And I asked them, I said, what do you think of our content? And a lot of them said, well, what content, right? Like they didn't know about a lot of this stuff. And that was another like, oh my gosh, we're putting all of this time, energy, and resources in, and our clients don't even necessarily know about it if they're not on the targeted email campaigns that we're doing to get this stuff pushed out. I would absolutely lean into advisory boards. If you don't have one, that is such a very low cost and impactful way of getting raw, candid feedback from your stakeholders. These are people who are vested in you. And I will tell you, just while we're talking real quick on the advisory boards, I have learned a lot of through mistakes with doing these, but with having a group that is representative of your entire business, not just one segment of your business, is extremely important, because you're going to get different perspectives. You're going to get different offerings, initiatives, suggestions that then you can lean into. But then related to that, every single advisory board we start with, here's a summary of the recommendations we got from the last one, and here's what we've implemented since that last one. And that resonates with all of them because they know that we're listening. They know that we're taking action. And frankly, I have not had an advisory board where I haven't gotten business off of it. That's not the intent. I'll be clear on that. But every single one of them deepens the relationship to the point where they are even more proactive in being advocates and stewards for you.
Bogart Wealth content is really doing two jobs. It is reaching prospects, but since you are in such rapid growth mode, you also are growing your team. And I wanted to do one quick look at your LinkedIn platform where you're running this series called Why Do You Like Working at Bogart Wealth? And I love what you're doing here because it's really simple content. But as folks are looking for jobs, they are on LinkedIn. And when they hit your page here, your business page, it makes a big impression.
We talked about the numbers, right? We went from roughly 600 million to 3 billion, about 600 households to almost 1,400. That's a huge undertaking. And by the way, the average account size of the firm is less than 2 million, right? So we're not talking big, massive institutional customers. It's a lot of volume. And so because of that, we absolutely needed to scale our staff. What I've been doing is actually, just as much as we have all of our organic lead flow engines in order to be able to bring in customers, we're now doing the exact same thing with attracting talent, because you can't have a client base coming in with no one to service it. We're actually being very deliberate, very specific about it. I shared with you, like, for example, we have a PR firm where I didn't engage with them in order to be able to attract new customers. I engaged with them because I want to be able to be very well known that we are growing, we're doing amazing things, and candidly, we need people to be a part of this awesome mission that we're encapsulating on.
Well, James, you've built quite a brand, and I like to end this by saying, if James can do it, you can do it too. James is a bit of an outlier with a massive company that is scaling at light speed. But fundamentally, what James has done with Bogart Wealth, you can do with your practice too. And if you want to build your authority and grow your practice with video, but you need some help, that's what we do at Idea Decanter. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.